Am I talking into the mic?
I hope so. Look, I can't control that. I have to look at my notes, so I can't be constantly monitoring you.
Okay.
You
It
have
looks
to
good.
monitor yourself. You
It
know,
looks
you
good.
want
It
to know
looks
why?
good. Why?
You know what? Because you're an adult.
Oh, I'm tired of adulting these days.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Yeah, me too. Very sorry. Anyway, hey, how are
We're
you?
going to start with some follow-up. I don't care how I am, because follow-up is happening right now.
Okay, go for it.
In the past, we've gone back and had to relay the fact that we're not doctors, we're not scientists, we're not lawyers, so don't take advice from us on these important issues. And for the love of God, we're not daters either. So anything we say about dating should also be completely disregarded, because we mentioned that a few episodes ago. Actually, I guess it's been more than a few episodes. A while back. You know, follow-up takes a little while
Dating?
to get going. Yeah, we talked about it a few episodes. I know it's probably like a month ago now, because we had 2 interviews. It was like before we did 2 interviews, so it was like eons ago. It's like
I see.
it's almost like in a different season if we had seasons, which we don't have seasons because I don't believe in seasons. When you do the editing, you can do it. You can have
I'm
seasons.
not working on anything other than what we're doing right now. This is enough.
And then also, again, many episodes ago,
Right,
and this may have been the same episode as we talked about dating accidentally. Wasn't intentional. It was just kind of accidental. We were doing follow-up on that horrible Orlando Museum
of Art.
And I said, their website's so bad, but hey, you know who's got a really great website is the Met. Mm-hmm. The Met, Catherine.
Mm-hmm. What happened?
The Met is not MoMA.
I thought you said Museum of Modern Art. Oh, shit.
In the episode and in the show notes you sent me, you kept talking about the MoMA. I'm like, geez, she's not listening to me even remotely. And Catherine,
I'm a member of MoMA.
You're not allowed not to listen to me because you're not my wife. Only my wife is allowed to not listen to me.
Mea culpa. Can we change it?
Boy, you think I was going to let that go through? MoMA.
Oh, I know the Met.
It's the Met that has the amazing website.
It actually does, but I had MoMA bookmarked, and it was just easy.
Exactly. It was
right?
easier just to go to your bookmarks than to listen to your co-host.
Well, because I'm a member of MoMA.
You're also a member of this podcast.
Oh, God. I'm sorry.
Wait, would you take me more seriously if you were paying me?
No.
Because that's an option.
No, there's no money being generated by this endeavor.
Oh no, there is. You keep buying stickers.
Oh, I bought stickers, yeah. Yes, I did. I gave them all away, too.
I put my first down payment on the Lamborghini because of all the stickers you've been buying.
Ah, okay. Well, sorry about that. I'm glad you fixed it.
It's a 1/12 scale Lamborghini, but, whatever.
Perfect. It's probably like a model car.
Yeah, it's RC, radio control.
I see. Electric.
Well, that's the funny thing. I had an electric car back in the 80s. Mm-hmm. It's called Tamiya Grasshopper. And it's a 1/10 scale off-road buggy.
Okay, what else are we following up on? Anything?
This is a little embarrassing.
Uh-oh.
The last podcast we did was actually, I thought, really impressive. It's probably the most important one we've done because we were talking to a sitting legislator from the Arizona legislature and a Senate candidate. But I didn't even know the Senate candidate was going to be there. I didn't know who she was. I didn't. Someone didn't tell me.
Oh, I thought Mary said, well, it was the jury was out whether she would be there or not because she had been feeling ill. And so it was like if she would join or not. I was thrilled. I was hoping she would join. Everyone was. I was really happy to see her there. I'm sorry I couldn't participate more.
It just caught me a little bit by surprise that I didn't know.
Well, I think it was a good podcast. And I think it is important when we cover the local issues because I do believe all politics is local.
I don't think we should do that again, though, because it made me angry. I got really angry during the podcast.
I got angry, too. And they did pass that bill. I mean, Ducey signed it yesterday.
Which one?
About the school vouchers.
Oh, well, that was only one of them. One of the many insults.
Yeah, one of that really got to me, though. That really got to me.
Yeah, that's just crummy. More handouts to the wealthy.
Yeah, I think he did a really great job with that podcast. So everyone take a listen. And I've just been a little preoccupied lately with some personal things and spending a lot of time.
Just a little bit. Yeah, just a little bit.
Just a little bit. Yeah, just really overwhelmingly bit. I've been spending some time in hospitals with a family member, my dad. And what I've noticed, James, is an incredible amount of plastic wastage. It's astonishing.
Was it just the plastic wastage that bothered you, or was it the human wastage and all the other wastage and time wastage and
Well, it's time. It's like everything. It's like the slow walk in, like the whole thing. I don't want to go into that. Let's just focus on,
Okay.
for some reason, the plastics really got to me. When I was in nursing, they used to bring like little bins to like wash your face or like little spitty things that look like a boomerang,
Yuck.
to rinse your teeth and like little like pink. None of the stuff has changed since I was at the bedside eons ago. I think the plastic's maybe a little thinner. It's not quite as robust. Maybe because of COVID. And I keep hearing, oh, because of COVID, we have to do this. Because of COVID, we have to do that. And they keep bringing in pitchers. Like, I just wanted to fill up my dad's pitcher of water. And like, no, we have to, there's a special thing because of COVID. We got to get a new insert. And instead of just coming with a new insert, they'll bring an entire setup. And so at one point, he had like 4, 5, 6 pitchers at the bedside. And I'm like, what are you going to do with these? Like, oh, nothing that comes into this room can leave this room unless you want to take it home and reuse it because it has his germs on it now. So toss it. And so literally, I mean, every day, if you look in the trash bins, there are like buckets of, like these little square buckets like you would wash yourself with, and all of the pink plastic, like everything, it just keeps going in. I mean, we could probably fill a landfill, a little section of one, with just the stuff that's been coming out of my dad's room for the last 3 weeks. And it's astonishing to me. I have never seen so much waste. And I can't imagine like this over the amount of, just in that one building, the amount of rooms and the same kind of processes going on. So I don't know if they incinerate it or if it just goes to the landfill, but it is plastic, and more plastic. And it's really creepy.
I don't know if it's incinerated or going to landfill because at the hospital you had different streams of waste, right? You have some waste that's biohazard, literally biohazard, so that you can't mix that in with regular waste.
Exactly.
You have
Right.
the sharps, the needles, anything that has a needle on it or was close to a needle gets
Right.
in the sharps bin.
Yeah,
so
those
have
are on
a lot
the
of
wall,
different.
right.
They have a lot of different streams. I don't know if any of that gets recycled or if it just goes to the incinerator or if it goes to the landfill. But I think as a protest and as maybe performance art, if that happens again, in the corner of the room, you just start a bonfire and just burn all the stuff in the room. See how that gets on.
I should have probably just kept stacking them up, but I don't know what bio waste touched that. I don't know what was happening with them when they were in the garbage. I wasn't going to go digging.
You could build a little fort in the corner and then
We
set
could
that
have
on
built
fire.
an entire condominium. And, and then you look at the plastic gloves and the masks, and it just started me thinking about how much plastic waste there is.
Well, Catherine, I have a question for you.
What?
What would happen if we stopped using plastic entirely?
That is a great question, and that kind of actually did go through my mind. It's like, how could they do this more efficiently in a hospital setting? I don't know that you could. I don't know that we can.
I wasn't thinking necessarily of just a hospital. I was actually trying to segue into the article that we're going to talk about because I literally just said that, or the title of the article, which was "What would happen if we stopped using plastic waste or plastic?"
Right.
Plastic.
That was
What would happen if
waste.
we stopped using plastic waste, Catherine?
Plastic waste. Oh God.
Sorry.
I read that article and I found it was very, very interesting. Thanks for sending that to me because this all really ties in.
Right? It was surprisingly good for a BBC article.
Surprisingly good. We'll link it in the show notes. I was astonished at how much just sits around. There's this theory with the little recycle logos on the bottom of all plastics that are allegedly recyclable.
Allegedly.
The assumption, and you know what assumptions are, Like you would think that there was some attempt to recycle this stuff. And apparently, according to this article, far less gets recycled, if anything. They were saying in the article that like since 2015, like of 8,300 million tons of virgin plastic that was produced, about 6,300 million tons is still with us somewhere.
Yeah, some of it gets recycled.
Some of it.
But not all of it can be recycled to begin with. And then if you were really serious about being careful with this stuff, the most important aspect of plastic, the plastic life cycle, is to make sure it stays inside of the cycle. And what I mean by that is don't drop it in the desert. Don't drop it out of your car window or whatever. It's very important. If we use it, it has to be kept in the system. And that goes from being made to being used, going into the trash can and going into the landfill. It came from the earth. It has to go back to the earth. Because if it doesn't, then it gets out into the environment and then breaks down into microplastic, which is probably going to wind up killing us all. But
I
that's
think
the
it
important
probably
thing.
will.
Even if it's not recycled, it needs to go into a landfill so it can be sequestered.
Right. How long does it take it to break down?
Oh, it won't.
The article did. It won't
If you
ever
bury
break
it,
down?
yeah, if you bury it, it's not gonna. Now, force, like the dinosaurs turned into oil, so that required force and time, right? The pressure did that. So yeah, eventually the oil or the plastics will be broken down again into oil. So in 50 million years, we can go back and pump the stuff out again and start using it again.
Yeah, and start like polluting the earth again.
It's a little bit of a slower recycle system, 40 or 50 million years, but eventually it's going to break down into oil again.
So depressing.
With some needles in there as well.
Some needles. But weren't you kind of blown away in the article?
And some baby poop. What?
Oh, God. Like how much plastic has infringed on our life?
I'm very aware of that. As an industrial designer, I'm just very, very aware of all the materials around me and what everything is made of. So it is not lost on me how much our lives, we are adrift in a sea of plastic. And it has made our lives so much better, and we are safer and have a much higher standard of living because of plastic, because it's so easy and cheap to make all this stuff, and it's so much safer to use. For just one example, I knew this crazy woman who used to, and not you, another crazy woman, used to insist on getting the water coolers at work. She had one at home. So I think it's like a 5-gallon container that you put on those.
Right,
and
I have one.
Almost all of them are plastic, but if you really insist on it, you can get glass ones.
Yes, you can.
Which are insanely heavy because you already have 5 gallons of water, which is 40 pounds. Then you add probably another 20 pounds of glass in there. So now you're trying to wield something that's 60 pounds.
Right.
She had someone delivering this to her home, and the guy dropped it because, it's heavy and hard to carry, and cut himself.
Oh, man.
And obviously had to go to the emergency room. So it's more dangerous. And the environmental impact of that was, rather than just having a regular delivery, his entire day was shot to hell. And he had to go to the emergency room and incur all the additional plastic usage there and all the additional expense of that.
Right.
So, plus, glass is a terrible material to use and is a very bad replacement for plastic because just off the bat, the amount of energy used to create glass is astronomical. You would not believe how much energy is required to make glass. You have to melt rock, essentially, to make glass. And if you want to recycle that, guess what? You have to melt it again. So recycling glass isn't great. Actually, when I was in Europe in the early 90s, and down in Italy, you get a bottle of Orangina, a little bottle of soda, what they consider soda. I don't know if I consider it soda because I thought it was actually palatable, and I hate soda. So most of them were beat to hell because they would reuse the glass bottles. They're not recycling them; they're just reusing them.
Great.
Which is a lot better than recycling them because.
Well, yeah. I mean, as long as they're cleaning them properly, etc.
Well, it's Italy, so
I'm sure they're doing it perfectly.
Probably not.
No, come on.
What, have you been to Italy?
I think they would do it perfectly.
I expect the Germans to be able to clean stuff, but not the Italians. It's not really their thing.
Oh, God. And I was just reminded, like, when they were talking about this, and they kind of did a little revisit of, back to early 1900s, 1905-ish, whatever, talking about the first plastics and Bakelite jewelry. And when I was helping my friend, actually over at McAlpine's, we were doing the stuff in the vintage store, and she had a beautiful array of the Bakelite bracelets. I just love them, but I never wanted to wear one because I know they also have formaldehyde and asbestos in some of those earlier.
Come on, relax.
I think it's beautiful. I think it's warming. It's so fragile, but I think that is some of the first plastic-y things.
Yeah, but that's not really plastic. I mean, the plastics didn't really get going in the 50s, which is kind of astonishing when you think about it. Plastics as we know them today and their usage and their material makeup really didn't start until the 50s. So it's only been 70 years since we've really been using this stuff, and it's now completely inundated our world. That's a little scary. It's
very scary, and there's no end in sight according to how I read this scenario. Can we really have a world without this? I mean, what do you think?
We absolutely could. This is essentially a fixable problem. It just requires intelligence and sacrifice. All right. We have to rely on humans to do that, so I guess that's not a solvable problem.
Right.
Humans don't seem good at intelligence or sacrifice, at least in groups. Individually, they can be good at it, but not as groups.
Right, because I was thinking about, how I grew up. Like, I was raised by, actually immigrants from Italy. And when they were talking about the food packaging and the shorter supply chains and the fruits and vegetables, and they're like, yeah, like even in the cans, there's like a plastic liner that now allegedly doesn't contain BPA, so it doesn't leach into your food, et cetera, et cetera. And they're like, so you'd actually have to take your tomatoes home and cook them. And that's all we ever did. My grandmother always canned tomatoes.
Right,
We had a
right.
huge
But
garden, and
you're looking at the end section of it, the final mile. But getting the tomatoes from the farm that may be in Argentina all the way to the grocery store relies on plastic.
it really does. And so that's the thing. And like, unless you're growing your own, like you'd have to really wind the clock back to the, I don't know, 19th century to some extent.
And that's not a bad idea, growing your own. But in Phoenix, that would increase our water usage to a point that might break it.
It's kind of like my dad's hospitalization. You fix one problem and you break another.
We could stop using plastics, but the cost would be immensely high. On the other hand, I do have a lot of faith in humans and in businesses to solve problems like this, because if you work hard enough at it, you can fix the problem.
Right.
This is a bad analogy, but the internal combustion engine, the thing in your car,
Right.
that is an absolutely miserable, terrible design. It's inefficient. It breaks down constantly. It is just, you're making explosions to create a linear motion, and then you're trying to take that linear motion and turn it into a rotational motion. So it's just an absolutely miserable design. But because humans have been working on it, and we've been throwing our best engineering resources at it for over 100 years, it's gotten really good. So you can take a bad idea and make it really good if you really put enough effort into it. So sure, this is solvable, but it's going to take a lot of effort, and I don't know if we're up for it.
Okay, I don't know if we're up for it, James. But if anyone's half up for it, I think any shot at this would be good. And I do think that there are scenarios and situations probably cannot be dealt with or cannot go plastic free. But I think that there are situations where we can.
Right, so we have to look carefully at what we're doing. There are some areas we can roll back more easily than others. Going to the store to buy water in small plastic bottles is really kind of dumb. You don't need to do that. You can just get a water bottle and refill it. And there are some things we can't change, like footwear. Again, this is one of the reasons I like this article, because it took specific examples.
It really broke it down.
And looked at them very carefully and said, we simply don't have enough cows to make leather shoes for everyone. And cows are not the thing we want to deal with right now, because they are terrible for the environment because of the methane they generate. So
yes.
we want fewer cows, but we also don't want to walk around barefoot. So we're probably going to have to, well, one thing, maybe you can just keep your shoes for a little bit longer and not buy as many, and buy better shoes that last longer. So that's one solution. But we're not going to get plastics out of our shoes, or for that matter, our clothes, because 62% of textile fabrics are plastic.
Correct.
Oh,
Correct.
like
Correct.
Yeah, you're just.
No, I did know that. I did know
article.
that
Okay.
because I used to buy a lot of clothes. One thing I did ages
So you're
ago.
part of the problem.
I was part of the problem, and I actually engaged in fast fashion. Pardon me. I did. It's like,
No, we're going to string you up after this.
Oh my God. On that note, should we talk about any art?
Well, the only other thing I wanted to mention, the only thing that really surprised me about the article was a study they did on the reusing stainless steel containers for takeaway food. Takeout. Stainless steel is very difficult to make, has a lot of energy, has a lot of material resources, but it only takes 13 uses of that stainless steel to offset its carbon footprint. So you use it 13 times, and you basically paid for yourself from a carbon footprint perspective, as opposed to using the styrofoam, which has a much smaller carbon footprint because it's almost free to make. It takes so little energy to make and so little material to make. That's one other small change we could make in our takeout food.
That's a great idea.
Were people willing to do that? I don't know.
I don't know.
But I know one thing people are willing to do.
What?
Listening to crummy K-pop. I'm sorry.
Oh, God.
Listening to K-pop. Wonderful, great, fantastic, amazing K-pop.
Yes. I just wish you'd listen.
I tried, God damn it. Don't you tell me you wish I would do that. I tried to do that, and I watched the video, and I was utterly confused and baffled, and I did no, thank you.
Are we speaking of BTS? Is that
You're
what
speaking of
talking?
BTS, because you do this to me every freaking week.
I'm not speaking of BTS as BTS. I'm speaking of BTS carving out Kim Namjoon.
Yeah, you'd
because
like
of
to
his
carve him
interest.
out, wouldn't you?
No, I think they're all very beautiful young men.
Ugh.
and they're all talented. And I'm a big
Well,
fan. I'm Army. Don't get me. Don't cross Army here.
First thing you need to do is prove to me that they're actually men, because I've seen these people and I can't tell if they're men.
Stop! No, we are not going there.
Show me a beard. That's all. Show me a beard. One beard. Is that so hard?
I think there are some pictures. I'll grab some off the Instagram post. Anyway, getting back to Kim Namjoon, he's quite the art enthusiast, and I told you before that I was following his Instagram account, which is Archive, RKIVE, and I'll link it in the show notes. And I came across this lovely article in Art News that said, about BTS's RM has sent K-pop fans flooding to art museums thanks to his Instagram. And I just thought this was delightful, and this is what I wanted to talk to you about before. And you poo-pooed it. So you read the article, and you saw some of the stuff. I don't know if you did check out his Instagram. And I have been living vicariously through this young man's adventures in museums. And I'm loving it. I'm there for it. I just love it. So go. Debunk.
Go. Where do you want me to go? Do you want me to leave right now?
Mars.
Because I kind of feel like leaving right now. Yeah, I'd rather go to Mars than talk about BTS, but okay.
Oh, God. Stop. Okay, go ahead.
I mean, at least I could talk to the rovers, the poor rovers.
The poor rovers.
Debunk? I don't know what.
Not debunk.
It's not even debunk. Poo-poo, maybe. Yeah, I could poo-poo it, but I can't really poo-poo it because what he's doing is he's talking about art. That's fine. And
I think it's great.
In the high-end art world, where these are the circles he's running in, the other people there are fraudulent scamsters. So he's not. At least he's got that going for him. I don't know why. There's no reason not to follow him as opposed to other jerks in the high-end art world. So he's got that going for him. He's not a scammer.
No.
And he admits that he's not good at multitasking. He says, I'm not good at multitasking, but I'm a person who digs deep once I get interested. Right now, I'm into art, which on one hand, yeah, great. Guess what? Nobody is actually good at multitasking, so it's nice that you actually recognize that. But it also seemed a little bit superficial that right now he's into art.
No, I don't think it's just right now he's into art. I think he's been into art for a while.
But that's what he said.
Well, now he's into art.
He makes it sound like it's a passing fad.
Oh, it may be. I mean, who knows? He does have a collection. He said he would like to start a...
I don't think he gets to tell me that or suggest that art is a passing fad.
I didn't take that away from it.
Well, I'm a negative person, so that's what I read into it.
Yeah, I didn't take that. I thought, right now, I just accepted it as what he said for face value. Right now I'm into art. I just enjoy the posts. I enjoy that he went to the National Gallery of Art in Washington. And
I can't criticize him too much, again, because the people in the high-end art market are criminals and garbage people. So he's not a garbage person, except that why is he famous other than he can sing?
Yeah, that's not good enough?
No, it's not good enough. There are much more important people doing much more important work that actually affect your life, whose name you don't know. I mean, can you name your state legislator?
Judy Schwiebert.
Okay, well, you can, sure, but most people can't. But they can name their favorite singer.
Right. Well, I think that he is an artist in terms of singing, and he's interested in visual art also. And because, I also have found pop music I just love K-pop. I like the energy. I love the dancing. I wish I could do some of those moves. I'm just, you try and you fall on your ass. At least I do. But like the superficiality of some of the pop music, even, in this country or whatever country, it's like, it is superficial in a lot of ways. And I think what this young man is doing is he's just taking his fame and kind of not addressing that superficiality, but like digging deeper. And he's opening up a fan base to just some really amazing work and having take a look at this. Like there was like a BTS effect. And some of these art galleries are seeing incredible amounts of new visitors. Some of them, not all of them.
They said there was a moderate bump. Some said they couldn't measure any bump at all. That's fine. Either way, it's not
right.
Really that
the
important.
BTS bump. That's right.
If he wants to talk about it, that's good. I guess. I guess it's good. And on the whole,
I think it's good.
This kind of gets a shrug. I give it a shrug.
You give it a shrug. Oh, is that our new scale?
I mean, it's not like he's really going out and discovering new talent. He's basically following what's popular within the art world, right?
Right. He's uncovering it and he's exposing it. He's showing
not really,
us. Not uncovering it, but to his fans, to whoever his fans are. And I don't know what the fan base is. I'm sure it's pretty varied.
If I want to take a negative view of that, I could say that's kind of self-serving. He's trying to make himself look important and interesting by looking at art.
No, don't be so jaded, James.
I'm saying if I wanted to take a negative look at it, that would be the negative take on it.
He's an art enthusiast and collector, and he's showing us his experiences. And I'm grateful, and I just think it's interesting. And like, I didn't ever pay attention to like the Rothko gallery and now I'm like intrigued. And there's a whole list of things that I do want to see when I can start traveling again.
Yeah, Rothko's not really on my list of successful artists.
Rothko, he likes Rothko.
He seemed like he was. Well, I'm just saying, Rothko seems like at the time he may have had a moment of interest, a little bit like Warhol. I mean, if Warhol had a moment of interest in the early '60s, like '63, say.
Right.
But it's not really important anymore. And I kind of feel like Rothko's the same way, and they're dinosaurs that we don't really need to pay that much attention to anymore because I don't feel like they're relevant anymore.
Oh, I like Rothko.
As for the people he's following, I think Donald Judd is more interesting. Not that he's a minimalist, so again, he's kind of superficial, not superficial, but a bit shallow is the word I would go for. I find some interest in the work of Donald Judd, but it doesn't get that deep. It'd be nice if he was uncovering new artists and exposing actually interesting and diverse work.
Well, he does on his Instagram account, and there's a lot of Korean art also. So, give it a shot. Follow him on Instagram.
As I think, I'm not going to follow him on Instagram. I think you were alluding to, I think you were alluding to earlier his statement that someday I would like to create a public space related to art, which I think would not be in the form of a gallery or a museum. I can totally vibe with that.
Right. What would it be in the form of, though?
Well, I think it would be a gallery, but it would be a private gallery, and it wouldn't be the hoity-toity galleries that we have today. In my imagination, I'm superimposing my own vision.
Okay.
And this was something I talked to you a little while ago about, creating a list of artists, modern artists it's kind of a stretch for modern, but like maybe from the 1800s on. Anybody who is speaking in the art language that we have today. So like Van Gogh is old, obviously dead, but still has a modern vocabulary to it.
Right.
And maybe it starts with the Impressions. Maybe it goes a little bit back before that. And the idea is to create a list of artists that we're really actually genuinely interested in. And if we had the money and the means to create our own space to show work, to have our own collection and show that work, what would that look like? And I think that's probably kind of what he's getting at too. Because the museums and the galleries are all so political and so driven by money that you're not really seeing a well-curated exhibit anywhere you go. It's just, there's so many other forces at play rather than just the pure expression of art. What really are the great works of art?
Exactly.
I agree with him on that point.
Right.
And his other point that I really enjoyed was a quote from him. The visual experience feels more complete. I'm often moved by the fact that I can see and feel the real textures or physical existence of the work from the time when the artists were alive. And that's when you actually see a work of art. Seeing work online is not the same thing as seeing work in a museum.
That is absolutely true. And we talked about that several podcasts ago. I like that feeling of like when you can actually almost feel like you're almost transported back into the time when the artist made the work. You can feel the energy coming off the piece. At least I can.
Right.
And you look at the brush strokes, you look at the energy, and I can sense the energy in a way that you can never get online.
And that's art right there.
That is art.
That emotional connection, that being able to feel something like that's very, very powerful.
Right. Well, thanks for discussing this. I mean, I've been obsessed with his Instagram feed.
You've been obsessed with him?
No, not him.
You sure?
I'm sure.
Okay.
No, I like all of them as a group, and I will support all of them individually as individual artists. But I think that him like exposing his interest and showing us this and kind of expanding the fan base's knowledge of things that they may never have been exposed to, I think is very valid and very beautiful. And I'm grateful, and his fan base should be grateful too, to be exposed to things that they may never have thought about, may never have experienced. And I think it's neat. I like it.
What I would be interested in seeing is someone actually doing some research on his relationship with his fan base and how he uses it, because that's really interesting. That there's a generation of artists and singers and songwriters and people who are famous today act very differently than people who were famous 50 years ago.
Right.
Much more reclusive in those days and had their images managed but mostly by the studios. But these days, a modern celebrity has the ability to interact with and manipulate and guide their audiences. And
Absolutely.
I'd be interested to see someone do a research and really dive into how he's interacting with his fan base. As they say, Namjooning is a term that they use for people who follow this guy and try to mimic his actions. You know, they do his interests, biking and going to art museums and stuff like that. So that's very strange to me. It's almost it's like a
it
cult
is a little
figure.
creepy. Yeah, there's like I'm 50-50 on Namjooning. I think it's a cute term.
Which is why I'd like to see a study in it, like what's going on here. What are the psychological? Well, of course, I don't know if you'd be able to break down the psychological implications without doing a really huge research project and talking to thousands of people.
Right. Well, they do. Just real quick, in terms of BTS, they have like a site called Weverse, Weverse, and then there's a V Live, and they have, I guess, through the course of I'm a fairly new army, if you will. Since the pandemic, I really caught on to their music and their whole vibe and started following them on different platforms. They have had the opportunity or taken the opportunity to really reach out to their fans. And a lot of times, like when they would be at award shows, instead of going to like the after parties that we would know, they would, do a V Live with their fans and talk. And so there's this almost like constant dialogue where people say they got to know the quote unquote boys. I don't see them as boys. I think they've had a really unique opportunity to engage with their fan base that other people, in different generations did not. And they took it and kind of made it almost a separate art form in terms of this engagement with their fans. You feel like you're talking to them and you can...
Well, that's a little bit dangerous, don't you think?
Text them while they're... I think it's all very well moderated. I don't know how dangerous it is,
Well, if you feel like you're talking to them, you feel like you have a personal relationship, I think that could get a little bit dangerous.
There is probably a line there. Sure, there's a line there. There's always that fine line in the sand. But all I'm saying is, like, you were commenting on the differences in generational celebrity, and I think they've taken it to like a different level. And so for people to follow him and say they're Namjooning, it kind of goes with the whole flow of what I've just experienced recently. Like I'm saying, since like 2020,
they're not the vanguard of this movement. The whole influencer movement has started with. I don't know where it started, but it's certainly well established by now. Gwyneth Paltrow has taken advantage of that to a disturbing level.
Yeah, she has, hasn't she? Right. No, but I'm just talking about their engagement with their fans. So you're saying
that's the same thing.
Yeah.
That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah. So anyway, Namjooning or not, it's like I think it's a great thing that he's exposing his fans to different visual artists, a lot of Korean art. Things that I find interesting, and I really can't wait to go to Korea. My trip got...
You're moving to Italy. You got to figure out where you're going.
Well, I'm moving to Italy, but I will go to South Korea at some point in this time. My niece and I are going. She wants to go see her homeland, and I'm supportive of that, so we're going.
So you're moving to Italy via North Korea. No, I'm sorry.
Not North Korea,
South Korea.
Please.
Korea.
South Korea. Yeah, Korea. So anyway, no, I mean, I do want to go there, and I follow a lot of artists from South Korea. So enough of this, and let's just move on. Thanks, Kim Namjoon.
Next podcast will be from Italy.
Oh, I wish.
Yeah,
I wish. Anyhow, have a great day, James.
Unlikely, but I'll try.
Yeah, me too. That's kind of where I'm at.
Yep.
Fingers crossed, man.